All right, we are here with JP Rankin from San Diego, California. How's it going, buddy?
Fantastic, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. Very
Yeah,
good. So thank you for coming and joining us and talking to all our people, helping to inspire others to make their way out of hospitality.
my pleasure.
You are now a practicing attorney and a wealth management advisor, correct?
That is the truth. I work for a company down here in San Diego. Well, our offices are in La Jolla. It's called Westpac Wealth Management, and we have offices all over the United States.
That's huge, bro. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on making it through, law school and everything. I mean, especially while bartending and
Yeah, that was fun. It was nice to have a break from all the books, but I'll tell you, the late nights, they definitely, I think you can see the bags under my eyes, that's for sure.
we all have that, man. I mean,
Right.
congratulations. It's a grind. So that's awesome.
Yep. Thank you.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the jobs you had in your hospitality career, like what venues you worked at, what titles you had, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I mean, you and I both share that hard rock hospitality background, which is
Love all, serve all.
right. Hands in, full hands out. We got plenty of those sayings. Before I started at Hard Rock, I was bartending in a number of places. I went to school in undergrad up at UC Santa Barbara. Go Gauchos always. And I bartended up there for a while and then came down here and started bartending at a few different places. Had a brief stint away from hospitality where I worked for San Diego Union Tribune, like nightlife and marketing, sales type stuff. And then I got hired by our good friends, Andy Hirsch, Justin Zotz, Joe Barber, as my very first legitimate nightclub management job. And I will always thank Andy Hirsch because he's the one that taught me to be as crazy as we all are. I remember that very first managerial shift. He was like, "Where's your flashlight?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Where's your flashlight?" I was like, "I don't have a flashlight." And he was like, "Well, how are you going to inspect the glasses to see if there's any water spots on them?" And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is a different level than what I was used to. And I will always thank them for that because that was kind of how my career started at Hard Rock. I was there for better part of 3 years. And then I went to our competitor down the street, which is Flux Nightclub, where I was a nightlife manager for a while. And then I became our beverage director, which was all things liquor, beer, bar related. And so I managed the bar there. And then my last gig in and I was there for like 3 years, a little bit longer than 3 years. And then my last gig in hospitality is where I was the general manager of Cake Nightclub in San Diego. I was there for about a year before I went to law school. And then I went to law school. First year, you can't work, which is a blessing and a curse because you have absolutely no money. And so for kids that kind of come from undergrad and don't have any real life experience, it's fine. They're used to living on mac and cheese or at their parents' house. But for someone like me, that I was like a fully functioning adult with a car payment and all those types of things, it was a rude awakening to be poor again, very poor. And then my second and third years in law school, I was working for a bar down here where I was just bartending, which I was so happy to do. And I think hopefully we're going to touch on the transition from, working your way up the ranks to then realizing you just want to make some cash. And you're like, I just want to bartend and I don't want to manage anyone or anything. So that's kind of my whole entire run in the hospitality for, 10 to 15 years, I think is my long-standing run.
Awesome. So do you miss it?
Let me give you an attorney answer. It depends. It depends. Some days I miss the excitement. I miss seeing your friends, seeing the people that you work with, because truly that's one of the reasons I think we all stay in hospitality as long as we did, is like they become your family. And like you're a testament to that. I've known you for longer than I can remember, and it's because of this industry. And so the ones that are true and real are the ones that you keep in your life for a really long time. But even the ones that you lose touch with and, you follow them on social media or whatever it is, you still go on, you still like when you were working with them, that's why you went in to have fun with your friends and like, enjoy life. And I do miss that sometimes because the traditional office life isn't always like that. Talking smack at the water cooler of the office is not the same as being in the shit at 1:30 in the morning, you're like, I don't know if I can finish this shift. I've been just getting smoked for the past 7 hours. So that I do miss. But I don't miss coming home at 4 a.m., not knowing whether I'm hungry, tired, or anything. You know, like you just get home, you're like, what am I right now? You just kind of stare at the TV for the better part of an hour until you can figure out how to go to sleep.
Yeah, I remember those days very, very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure your hours were even crazier because Vegas was all day, every day, nonstop.
Yeah, you guys in California, you guys had that 2 a.m., no matter what happened, you were done. Vegas, we're like, if we were still spending money, the club stayed open. I mean, there's so many times I would drive to work to open the club and drive home and the sun was up to go to work and the sun was up driving home from work. I still have the street lights driving home at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's a level of dedication. That's crazy. You're a better man for it. So,
and just like you said, I mean, I didn't know if I was tired. I'm like, do I have the energy to slide into the Jack in the Box drive-through? Or am I going to pass out waiting for them to give me my food before I?
John, we always have the energy to go through Jack in the Box drive-through. Okay, always. And I feel like the guys that work those shifts, they could tell. They knew. They were like, these guys are sober, but they're at the end of their rope, and we just need to get them a spicy chicken sandwich and get them on through.
I mean, anybody rolling through Jack in the Box Del Taco at 5 to 7 a.m. not getting breakfast and coffee, they know you're either drunk or getting off work.
Yep.
Now, if you can go back, would you do it again?
100%. There's no doubt that I wouldn't do that again. My parents both worked in the hospitality industry before they got their real jobs. And I remember when I was younger, they were like, don't do it. We don't want you to do it because, well, they didn't even give me a because, they just gave me a don't do it. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, what do you mean? This looks like so much fun. I'm going to have all this access to, cash. I'm going to whatever. And looking back, I understand why they said don't do it. It's because it's difficult to leave. And I think that's one of the reasons that I think what you're doing is so fantastic is like, even when you do get out, it's kind of, there's a adjustment period and there's a lot of unanswered questions, but what you learn and what I learned going through this whole entire business, this industry you couldn't get it anywhere else. Like the ability to understand the people that you're looking across at, someone you've never met before, and your ability to read them and understand what they want before they even ask you for it. I think those types of skills, those soft skills, they're tough to get from a book. They're tough to get from, working in a normal 9 to 5. So would I go back and do it again? Absolutely. Would I try and get out sooner? Yeah, probably, but you never know.
Yeah. And that's what, people ask me, success after hospitality. Like obviously I'm trying to encourage people to get out of hospitality, but that doesn't mean that I want people to never do it. I think everyone should absolutely 100% go into it for, some point in their life. It's like you said, there's skills that you pick up. You can't pick up in a book. You can't pick up in college. You can't pick up anywhere. Really.
Yeah.
Like you said, until you're like working in the shit and you're in the weeds and you have 10 deep and people at you and
weed it. I'm weeded right now.
These kind of things that you can't pick up anywhere. You have to live it, breathe it. And I think the hospitality industry also teaches you like that work ethic. Like you need to hustle, you need to be organized, you need to build reputations and relationships. And it teaches you so many things that you can use for the rest of your life, in your next careers.
Yep. They're going to make everybody a better participating member of society. It's really those skills. I will forever be grateful for my ability to multitask and handle stress and all the things that come along with the industry. So
yeah, and then that's the thing. Like the thing that we're trying to inspire people to get out. It's like you said, it's hard to leave. And you and I both have several friends that are like mid-30s and their 40s that still don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Yes, they've been making money. They're comfortable, but they're not happy. That's why everyone's addicted to alcohol. Opioids. Out here, everyone gets off work and they go straight over to the machine and start gambling. It's the big joke out here is, I guess I work for free tonight. They get off and gamble because they're just miserable. They don't know what else to do.
Yeah,
sad. Really sad.
That sort of dopamine rush after work, I'm glad. You and I have talked about it before, but I don't think I would have had the skill set to make it in Vegas. And I will always be impressed at you and some of my friends that have done it successfully, because I would be the first one to be like, all right, cool, I got this much money. Let's see what I can turn that around into. And then not only would it be like, I guess I work for free tonight. It's like, I guess now I got to figure out a way to, make that money back, and then whatever else I went in the hole. So it's like, that's impressive in itself. So it's definitely tough to leave. And I can only imagine what people in Vegas have to go through.
Yeah. And then that was the other thing, like, say you wanted to take a week off, like you not only didn't make money that week, you also spent money that week. So
spent money.
Say if you're making $1,000 a week, it's like the average thing, making $1,000 a week, you're not going to, and you're going to go blow a couple thousand. It's like, do I really want to take this week off and lose $3,000 instead of what? Like, So a lot of us, we just worked, we grinded a lot.
100%. It was I always did that math where I was like, all right, if I take this day off and this day off, I'm going in the hole this much money. Where am I going? How much have I already spent to get there? And then what's my budget while I'm there? I'm like, man, that's a huge hit. Yeah. You know what? I'll do it later. I'll take that vacation later.
Yep. And then, years go by and you really don't take those vacations. And then you end up blowing that money on stupid shit anyway.
Stupid shit. Stupid shit.
Which I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what was your time frame from, like, say when you were in hospitality and bartending and running clubs and stuff, to that point where you click, like, I don't want to do this forever?
I think I was probably like, I think you always know. I think truly, for the most part, if you've done undergrad and you've like thought about what it is that you want to do, but you didn't really know, so you got into hospitality. I feel like we all kind of know, like, I'm not going to do this forever. It's like this is fun. I'm making money. I'm successful, but I'll, maybe in a few years I'll think about getting out. And so I think I always knew that I had to figure out an exit plan, but it was only until I was like 30. I think that for me, for some reason, that age just kind of clicked, where I was like, okay, if I actually want to like start a family and do the other things that are my life goals, I could do it in the hospitality business. And there are plenty of people that do it and are super happy and they are successful at it. But I knew personally that I never wanted to have to decide between my family and answering the phone at 4 a.m. if something was wrong. And I think the moment that clicked for me is the moment that I was like, okay, I have to pivot. And so probably like 10 years after being in for 10 years, I was like, all right, I got to pivot now. And even then, when I like made that conscious decision myself and knew that I had to pivot, and I had an idea, I always wanted to be an attorney, but I was like, I don't really know. That seems like a lot of time. I don't want to go back to school, student loan debt, blah, 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 all the excuses that you can come up with. Even when I decided that I needed to get out, it still took me a little while to figure out how I was going to exit, what that looked like. And there were definitely points where I was like, I don't know if this is the right decision. And luckily, going to law school and that whole entire process, once you start, it becomes almost so expensive to give up on it that I didn't really have any other choice. It was like, all right, I've already taken this class, I took the LSATs, I applied to all these different law schools. Like, if I don't get into the one I really want to, but I get into another one, I'm still going to go down this road. There was no way to back out. So I think that is, maybe looking back, a very important thing is, like, when you decide to get out, make sure that your decision is something that is really difficult to go back on. And you've heard the saying, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. But it's like, that's kind of where I went with it. It was like, I quit and I gave everything up, and there was no other option than for me to go forward in my new given career.
Yeah. So speaking of, the day you quit, how'd you feel that day you knew that this was it? I was going to resign.
I think at that point, I was pretty ready to go. And it was sad to actually leave and say goodbye to everyone that I'd been with. But also I feel like it was such a relief, because Justin Zotz, love him to death, gave me this piece of advice. One of my, I think I've been managing for maybe a year. And I like screwed up. I definitely screwed up. I don't even know what it was, but I screwed up. And he was like talking to me about it. And he was so great. He was such a great manager that like he was a human, you know, he was like, I mean, he's a great person, but the way that he managed me was so human. And it was like, he could tell that I was distraught that I had screwed up. And he was like, hold on, man. He was like, you screwed up. And he's like, now you know how not to do that. And you know what to do. And he's like, but at the end of the day, man, this isn't like open heart surgery. We're not like saving lives. So put a smile on your face, man. Like we're supposed to be having fun. And it was like, I think the way that he delivered that will always resonate with me because he was like, we're supposed to be having fun. And he was like upset with me more that I wasn't having fun than I had actually screwed up. And I, you know, was trying to figure out how to not screw up ever again. And I think towards the end, it was tough for me to have that conversation with myself, that reminder, like, we're supposed to be having fun. It had stopped being fun. So I think it was a relief as much as it was sad, you know?
I think that's just the management, because I went through that too. Bartending was fun, management was not fun.
Yeah, no.
And I used to tell my staff all the time, guys, have fun, because it resonates with you. You know, if you're having fun behind the bar, you're joking, you're laughing and stuff, the customer's laughing and joking and stuff. But then management, and you know, you have all the other 9,000 responsibilities and everything. It stops being fun.
It stops being fun really quick when you put that manager behind your title, no matter what's in front of
it. Yep. How's your how's the lifestyle changed now? You know, we talked about, you know, being up till 4 a.m. and stuff. Are you happier, healthier now?
100%. And one of the, you know, the things that we share is like, I like to get up early now. I like to be on a schedule. And so it's like, I get up at 5 a.m. by choice. I like to get a couple hours of productivity done in the morning after I do my morning rituals, which is, you know, like I'll have lemon water, I'll have apple cider vinegar, I'll meditate for a little bit, I'll do some of my own personal reading. And I really try to do all that before I even look at my cell phone, but that doesn't always work. But that's like always the goal. But being able to get myself onto that routine has made my sanity and my mental clarity so much better. And, you know, I will always appreciate what being in the industry taught me about a work ethic. And so what I learned is how to do that in this new arena. And obviously we're all changing. COVID's changed this for everybody. And that was something that was unforeseen. So all of our rituals may have changed a little bit, but getting up early and like really starting to attack the day and enjoying it is something that I was not able to do while I was in the industry. Because even if it's only working on the weekends, all of us do something else while we're in the industry, which I think is something that people don't really think about. Like all of the patrons that come in, they're just like, oh, this person's just a bartender, or this person's just a whatever. And they probably are, you know, not doing anything during the rest of the week. But I think that's a vast misconception. It's like, actually, it's the contrary. All of us are doing something else. This is a means to an end for pretty much everybody. But I used to get so, like, it would be such a hard transition because during the week, I'd try and, you know, do what I was doing, you know, like whether that was going to school or if that was starting a different side hustle or whatever it was. And then you go work on the weekends and you're up until all hours of the night and your body can't, that like your circadian rhythm is off and your body can't get used to it. And I think being able to get used to that now is something that I cherish. And I don't, going back to like whether I'd go back, that would have to be something I'd have to really weigh the cost and benefit, because it's like that, having that sense of normalcy to my life has given me like so much pleasure. So I definitely enjoy that part of being away from the industry.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of the morning routine. 100%. I call it the prize fighter routine.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to do when you're working those crazy schedules and different hours and all this stuff. It's almost impossible. You know, I tried to have the same routine, but I was waking up at like, you know, 12 to 2 p.m. depending on what time I went to bed that day.
Sure.
I'd have to take a nap. I'd always get up and go straight to the gym. That's how I wake up. I wake up, splash water in my face, go straight to the gym. Whether it's a 15-minute workout or a 2-hour workout, just as long as I went, got my blood flowing and stuff. And then, you know, And then now that, I'm part of the 5 a.m. club too, which, it's it's so funny how quickly my body adapted to this lifestyle as opposed to that lifestyle. Like all the years I worked in hospitality, I still hated, the hours I worked. My body never got used to it. After years and years and years, I still never, ever, my body's like, the human body's not supposed to be up all night.
Yeah, it's true.
It's really not.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give other people, who are trying to get out of the industry and just really have no direction or don't know how or what to do?
Oh, I've so much advice because I'm so old and I'm so, we're so wise in all of our years. But I think the best advice that I could give to somebody that's starting out is make the most of this career and don't listen to what anybody else has to say, because it really is what you make of it. You could be one of those people that show up, you clock in, you say hello to your team or whatever, and then you do your job and then you leave, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But there's so many opportunities. The people that I met on the other side of the bar, those are connections that also you probably wouldn't be making if you weren't in the industry. Like I used to love the people that would come. I would have one early bar shift while I was in law school, and it was like mandatory for me. It was like my Saturday, I got in early, so I'd work one dinner shift. And the people that I would get to meet while they sat at my bar were like partners of law firms or CEOs of companies that were there with their wives and were, enjoying San Diego and willing to have conversations that you wouldn't have access to these people. And if you treat people with respect, they're going to show you that back for the most part. I think we all in this business have seen when you give people the world and they just do not think highly of you, and it's impossible to talk to those people. But as long as you make the most of every situation and really enjoy it for what it is, you're going to be better off for it. And I think we all learn that somewhere along the way, that like you got two speeds. And I wish that someone would have told me this, I probably wouldn't have listened. But it's like you can either make the most of every situation you're in while you're in this industry, or you can be a pessimist. You can be that grumpy bartender that maybe you're nice to some people and you're rude to other people, but that's the way you deal with it. But if you appreciate everything for what it is and get the most out of it, it's going to be such an enjoyable experience, and you're going to meet people and create connections with people that you would not be able to otherwise. And I really I saw that toward the end of my career. I got plenty of job interviews and I got plenty of networking events and contacts because I was able to carry on a conversation, and I treated these people that were at my bar like human beings. And it wasn't like, what do you want? Do you want cheese on that? It was like, I really got to know them. And, I loved giving people advice on where to go to eat after, or the things to do in San Diego. And these are conversations that you really wouldn't be able to have in any other way. So I think that's the advice that I would give, is just make the most of it and don't listen to what anybody else has to say, because up until the day I graduated from law school, I think my mom was still pretty bummed that I was in the hospitality industry, because she was always like, you're capable of so much more. But I don't think she really recognized the opportunities that we have in this industry. And I think most people don't. And so they're always going to look at you in a certain way. It's like, goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like some people just think that you're just a bartender, you're just just a waitress or whatever it is. They don't know what else you have going on. So don't listen to what they have to say. I would really make the most of all of the opportunities that you're going to have in this industry.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we try to stress to people. Talk to a lot of people that they've been doing nothing but bartending or cocktailing or waiter or something for the last 15, 20 years. They don't know, they don't think they have any skills to use out that. And you've been making all these skills, all these relationships you've been building, all the people you've talked to, like you said, you can go to interview and you can carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
You've done it. You think about how many conversations you pulled out of thin air. Somebody just sat at your bar that sat and talked to you for hours.
It's your job. It's literally part of your skill set. And if you want to have the good shifts, it's you have to be able to create that stuff out of thin air. And it's part of that. That is the soft skill of small talk that you're gonna like, if you don't have that skill and you go to a networking event as like a real adult with a real big job, like you're gonna fail, and that's gonna be a terrible event. It's like really start honing in on those skills, because it is the truth. You got to create that stuff out of thin air.
Yeah, I'm still friends with people I met at the bar over a decade ago, 15 years ago. They're still some of my best friends today, and I met them from literally just sat at my bar. I mean, our mutual friend Jason.
Yep.
Sat at my bar one day at the Hard Rock.
Oh man, Jason, he's one of the good ones, man. Did you just get one of those Fortune COVID masks? Did he send one?
No, I haven't seen them yet.
Oh man, they're great. You got to get one. They're like, he made them with the little Fortune logo, and they have like they're breathable, but then they have a lanyard on the back, so you can like literally take it off and it hangs around your neck. It's the greatest thing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love Jason. Shout out to Fortune 421. Fortune.
Yes, sir.
Just happen to be wearing the shirt right now.
Looking so fresh. Fresh in that shirt.
Hey, you know it. So what? A random question. What do you spend the most amount of your money on while you're in the industry? Where you're making all this money hand over fist? Where did it all go?
Sean.
I already know the answer because we all did it.
God, if I could have a ledger of all of the money that I spent and where it went, I think that'd be probably pretty embarrassing to look back on. And yeah, we all know it, and I think we get into that. It's very, even now, like I just give 20%. It's just, like you just give it back. We used to say you charge it to the game, but like I think a lot of my money went back into like supporting my friends and supporting the industry, and that I would never want to change. That I think is one of the greatest parts about this industry, is like we really do. It's a circular thing. We take care of each other, and that is where a good amount of my money went. And those experiences and those types of events, I will always be appreciative of, and I would never change that. But I think a lot of my other money went to material things that at the time I thought were important. And obviously hindsight's 2020, but it's like looking back, I'm like, why did I buy that thing that I don't even know where it is anymore? Like, there's just so many things. Like, I love the trips that you're able to take, and that's where some of my money went. But it's like some of the things that I purchased, I wish somebody would have said, hey, like shaken me and been like, hey, well, you don't need to do that. You know that, right? Like you really don't. Maybe it would have gotten through to me, but probably not. I probably still would have spent all the same money on clothes and cars. And man, I used to have a pretty big obsession with like shoes. I used to have a lot of really expensive shoes that I'm not wearing them anymore. I don't even know where they went, half of them. So I think it's where a lot of my money went. And it's truly one of the reasons that this career path that I'm on now, it's one of the reasons that I went into it. It's because there are so many little things that we don't know that could really help us with our money. It's like everyone says, like compound interest. That's the thing. That's the word that everyone really knows, but you don't really understand how important that is until you look at the numbers on paper. And if I would have put away just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit, the benefit to my future self would have been exponential at this point. And so being able to have those types of conversations with people that are interested now, that are my age, or hopefully I get to start talking to some people that are in the middle of it, but are curious about that type of, retirement planning, that type of, annuity investment. Like those are things that I'm really starting to lean into, because it really you could really benefit, your later self could really benefit from just a little bit of investment. You know what I mean? Like maybe just don't go out that one Friday night that you have off and take half of that money and put it in a Roth, or like, I mean, I'm pretty big into the stock market now, and I think it's just because of where we all are, but it's interesting. And I think like, man, if I would have just put a little bit of money into the market, I would have been so much better off now. But you know, you live and you learn. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm excited to be able to be such a resource for anyone that's interested about that type of stuff and want to have a conversation and not feel like you're getting sold to, you know, like it's always like, because I feel like you think of people as a financial planner and it's like, oh man, I don't have any money right now. Just, I'm all good. And it's like, that's not what I want to do. And it's not what the company I work for does at all. It's like, I like to be a resource. No one's ever going to get a bill for my wealth management conversation. It's like, you know, oh, I didn't know that that's what we were doing. And that's kind of what people think is going to end up happening. Just happy to answer questions. And if it makes sense, great. And if it doesn't, I'm always going to be here so that when you want to have that conversation and you are curious and you want to like actually see what the numbers would look like, I can be here for that too. So
Yeah, I wish I met you, God, when I was in my 20s. I mean,
right.
but think about it. No, nobody really talked to us about like wealth management and what to do with all the money we were making. I mean, we were literally just blowing it. I mean, the big joke is say you made $500 one night, like I said earlier, you get off the bar, you go blow it, you go out after night, oh, I guess I work for free tonight. It was like nothing because we knew we'd make it again tomorrow, so it didn't matter.
Right.
But
when you don't have it, which will be one of the hurdles that I'm sure that you have resources for in your course and I can be a resource for, but is like when you leave, that is another thing, is like you all of a sudden are like, oh shit, I can't just go and make this money next weekend, you know? And I think that was one of the blessings in disguise for COVID-19 is like people really, it was terrible that they lost their jobs or they had, they were furloughed or whatever. And it was one of those realization moments that you were forced into that was like, oh, I can't actually make this money anymore. I should have, maybe I should have been saving. And my mentor in the company, what he told me that really resonated is he's like, when I was younger, I thought that in order to save money, I couldn't spend any money. And what you realize when you get into this field or you start thinking about your future is no, in actuality, what allows me to spend money is the fact that I am such a good saver. It's like, instead of, putting that trip on the credit card and paying it off at the end of the trip or, paying it off a few weeks after the trip. Now it's like before you even take the trip, it's paid for because you have been planning for this. And it's not like the type of planning where you like make a budget in your Excel spreadsheet and hopefully you're like, oh gosh, I overspent on my dining out column. It's more like when you start spending and seeing how your money can accumulate, you're like, okay, I've already allotted for this trip. And that sort of bliss and like ability to be carefree, knowing that that vacation you're on is already paid for. And the only thing you're going to have to deal with is like, if you want to take that extra zip lining tour, that type of like carefree, stress-free enjoyment of what you're doing it's second to none. And so I really like, that's important to me. And I'm glad to be able to do that for people, especially when they're leaving the industry, because it's like, you really don't know what that feels like until you're like, ah, shit, I can't make any money this weekend or whatever it is. So
that's why, like, talking about COVID, and obviously, we have a lot of friends that lost their jobs, and
yep.
And I have a lot of people who they didn't lose their jobs, but capacity got shut down to like 25%, 50%. All they're doing is yelling at people to keep their mask on. So people are pissed off. They're not tipping them. Yep. So they're not making money. They still have to work in during this chaos, and everyone's just kind of like, we'd rather just be closed. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, I think that's the truth. And my friends, our friends that are still working in whatever capacity they can, I really like, it's a testament to their dedication to the job and the work ethic. Is it's like they really are in the middle of all of this disaster and they're getting yelled at because people still are going to have the same hospitality sort of like woes, like, my burger was supposed to be medium rare and it's medium well, and you're such a terrible person. And I'm so angry because that's what, you get to deal with that on the regular in this industry. But having to deal with that on top of everything else right now is just crazy to me. People just can't be happy that they're out and having a meal prepared by somebody else, like, and just let everything else go. So, it's a testament to them. And I will always appreciate all of our friends that are still doing it. So
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a hard time. And then, everyone who's not working, and people who didn't have savings or retirement or something. Everyone's have been like, I know a lot of girls are selling all their Louis Vuitton purses and all the expensive shoes and stuff that they bought. But the problem is a lot of people can't afford to buy them because they're broke too. So
yeah,
it's tough. I know girls are getting their cars repoed. I mean, granted, they driving cars have $1,000 car payments that shouldn't be doing, but
shouldn't have done that. That's not
back to the wealth management. And I mean, San Diego's a lot like Vegas too, where everyone, every VIP host has a matted, blacked out, BMW, Mercedes.
Oh yeah, you gotta pay to play.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's trying to look like ballers, and I mean, realistically, it's you're just trying to show off for other people. That money to work to good use, it would change. It'd be life changing.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight, I wish I learned that. I spent tons of money on cars. Is a big joke, is I wouldn't keep a car more than 2 years. I just get
that's impressive, and it's yeah. I think I did the same thing. I like to have new cars. I like to have new things, and that's one of those investments that like I made, and I look back now and I'm like, I don't know if that was the best use of my money. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't know what having a nice car means. Maybe you get the girl, but once you get the girl, you find out she didn't really care about your car anyway. So you were the one, you did it for you.
I lost money. I remember I put $30,000 down on a brand new fully loaded Tahoe. It was like $50,000. The year later, and I hated that car. I traded it in, I think, a year and a half later. But a year later, GM came out with like friends and family pricing or something. I traded that car in less than 2 years later and sold it for, I think, like $28,000.
Well,
that was terrible. Talk about a big mistake.
Yep. That's all the truly wealthy people say buy used cars, and now that I'm a little bit older, I definitely, next car I get, my Jeep's paid off right now, and I'm gonna run that thing into the ground. But next car I get will definitely be a few years old. You lose so much money when it comes off the lot. It's just so crazy to think about buying a new car now.
And then that was my thing too. So I remember my last used car, I think I was like 19 or whatever, bought a used truck, and the engine blew right after, like 64,000 miles after the warranty was done. After that, I swore I'd never buy a used car again.
Yeah.
All those cars I was buying were all brand new off the lot, depreciate. Again, it didn't matter because I was making money. I didn't worry about that. Like, I wanted a new car. I got a new car.
Got a new car, exactly. I'll work another weekend. I'll work another New Year's or whatever.
The justification was always, I work hard, I deserve it.
Yeah, which you do. Like, you really, like, I don't think we should ever downplay that, because I also think that hospitality industry teaches you that. Like, when you do work hard, you got to figure out what your reward is for yourself. And looking back, I think I've rewarded myself in not the best ways, but the idea of celebrating hard work, I think, is something that's important to keep around, because it's, like the industry that I'm in now, it's not like put all your money in your retirement and don't do anything now, and don't spend any money until you're 65, and then all of this savings, you can then travel the world when you're retired. And it's like, that's also a misconception. It's like, it's about doing things with a purpose and understanding that, your future will be here sooner than you know it, and planning for that is in itself a reward. And I think being a good saver is something that it almost is like you enjoy opening that, that Chase online. You're like, man, look at these numbers piling up. This is my reward. Being able to look at some of your investments and see how they're growing because of just little incremental additions, that is the reward. And so I wish that I could have talked to both of us truly and been like, hey, you don't need that new car every 2 years. Why don't you reward yourself a different way? Because you do work hard and you do deserve to have the benefit of it. And you can do that while planning for your future as well. It's such a small amount of money. And I think that's what everybody thinks. It's like, there's no way that I could afford to put, $200 away a month in savings. There's just no way. But it really, once you make that commitment and you really see how quickly it starts to add up, that is going to be the thing that you care about the most. You're like, oh man, yeah, no, my car, it's nice. I got it a few years ago, but you should really see where my Roth is right now, because that thing is growing. Or it's, I was able to buy that house a lot sooner than I wanted to because my credit score is so much higher, because I decided to, not take that extra trip, but invest in my future. And I think that those are the rewards that people are really starting to see are what is worth all of the hard work.
It's so funny too when he said, people say they can't spend $200 a month. That's one round of shots with your friends.
Seriously.
How many times you buy a round of shots for your friends and it's over $200?
Well, you have a lot of friends, so that's probably $200. Like me, it's like I got one person if they come out at all. But you know what I mean? That's the truth. It's that one round that you could just put away.
Or bottle service. Don't buy that one bottle. I mean, that's the dumbest thing ever right now. I mean, I'm a victim of it too. How much thousands of dollars I spend on buying bottles, trying to show off for people that I don't even talk to and don't even care about.
And they probably didn't care at the time either. You know what I mean? Like looking back, like we thought it meant something, but it probably really didn't to them, And I wish we could, if we could go back. And those were great times, but also I spent a lot of money on bottle service and buying rounds of shots that I did not need to.
I was kind of justified it, figured I get comped so many bottles that I could buy one here and there, whatever.
Yeah.
That's, because all the relationships I had and stuff, the average person's not really like that.
Yeah.
We'll never get comped the amount of bottles I got comped in my life.
I think if we could put all of our comp bottles together, it would be too much fun for our old age now.
Yeah, it'd be bad. Did you make any investments that you're proud of or that you're still benefiting from while you're in the hospitality?
No, I really I didn't. Looking back, I don't think regret is the right word, but looking back on all of the money that I made, I didn't make any investments into my future. I did, I went for a long time without any debt. I paid all my credit cards off, and I saw how high your credit score can go. And I think that, if anything, is something that I am proud of, that I was able to do. And I was able to have an understanding really early on that your credit score is just a number, and it's a means to figuring out the next move in your life. So, if you want to buy a house sometime soon, you're going to need to figure out exactly how to raise your credit score. But if you're not going to be borrowing any money anytime soon, then it's all about leveraging those opportunities that you have at that time. And I think learning that early on was something that I'm very proud of now that I have a ton of student loan debt from law school, and, having put myself through it, my credit score is not what it used to be, but you're able to learn really early on that it's just a number and you can use it to your benefit. And it can hurt you if you don't watch it, but it's ultimately just a number, and it should be used as a means for making the next big decision in your life. So I didn't make any investments, but I definitely learned that. And without the hospitality and having access to all that cash and being able to pay it off quickly or put money on it and pay it off, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So that is something I'm proud of. But investments, no. I wish.
And investments are still rough though. I mean, I felt like I was smart with my money. I own 3 properties.
Mm-hmm.
I took the 10 years of all my wealth and I put like $70,000 on one house I had.
Yeah.
$40,000 on another house I had. But then 2008 happened. I owned 3 properties and 2008 crashed.
Yeah.
And Vegas was one of the hardest hit markets.
Hard.
So all that got wiped out.
Yeah.
It was done. So I'm like, those 10 years of me thinking I'm investing for my future and all that stuff, wiped out. I had to rebuild. I had to rebuild from scratch.
Yeah. And you have. I mean, honestly, this new endeavor of yours is I can't tell you how happy I am to be here and a part of it in any capacity, because it's so great for anyone to have this sort of a resource, because there are so many times that you just kind of don't know. A, you don't know what you don't know, and B, you don't know who to ask sometimes. And having this resource, I think, is going to be so great for so many of our friends and people that are watching this because they heard about it from somebody else and they've had these questions. And I'm proud of what you've done, and I'm just excited to see where the future takes you, because to be able to like really start this thing and rebuild it's a testament to how hard of a worker you are. And I'm very happy that you are offering such a resource for everybody.
I appreciate that, man. Like I said, I mean, I just really want to help and inspire other people. Like, think if we met each other, or we met our older selves when we we're in our 20s, like where
Yeah.
we'd be right now.
Yeah.
All that money that we blew and all that stuff, like that one round of shots we didn't do, if we put that extra $200 away, just like you said, if I met you and you told me, listen, put your money in here, 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 and here, maybe I wouldn't have had to rebuild as much as I did.
taking over the world is what we would have been doing. That is the truth.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. So, I mean, so talking about, understanding of retirement, life insurance, and investment planning and stuff, like, what advice would you give to people like right now? I mean, I know there's a lot more detail, and obviously we'll put a contact for you and stuff in the link below and everything else, but
yeah,
for people just watching this right now, what's like the first, the bullet points you can hit on?
Well, I think for anyone, anywhere they're at in their life, term life insurance or whole life insurance it's something that you don't really know what it means. You've probably heard somebody talk about it, but you're like, yeah, I'll take care of that later on, or maybe I'll work for a place in a few years that offers it, and then that's when I'll do it. But it's based on your age and your health and a number of other very like small little details. But the sooner you get on that, the earlier you can lock in a price that's reasonable to take care of somebody should something happen to you. And I think when you're younger, you think you're invincible. I'm sure you and I have done plenty of things that you're like, man, I can't believe I jumped off of that rock into that water, or, all these things that you knew you shouldn't have done, and you made it out alive. But then also the disasters and unfortunate events that can happen just living your life day to day and, playing it safe, they're everywhere. And it's not to be dismal, but it's like something could happen to you. And I think my mentor asked me, he was like, what if you died yesterday? How would the people in your life be? And I think that really hit me hard, because I was like, honestly, people in my life that I care about would be screwed. They'd be fixing my mess, and they would be set back in a number of different ways that, had I just thought about that and asked a couple of questions sooner in this hypothetical scenario, they would have been taken care of. It's like, for a lot less than you expect, you can get a pretty like large sum of money paid to your beneficiaries in a death benefit. And it's really not going to cost you that much right now. And it goes back to like, for about a quarter of what it is that we would have paid not to take that round of shots, you can, for the next 30 years, ensure that if something happens to you, unfortunately, your people in your life are going to be taken care of. Like I have a multi-million-dollar whole life insurance policy that doesn't cost me a lot, because I've had it for a few years now, and I was lucky enough to think about that. And that sort of, it's a clarity, it's a carefreeness, not carefree, I guess, but it's like knowing that the people in my life are taken care of. So should something happen to me, it allows me to live a little more free. And I think that people think it's this huge mountain to climb to get there, and it's really not. It's so easy to go down that road and have that conversation, and it happens so quickly that I wish I would have done it sooner, but it's never too late to start either. So I hope that wasn't too long of an answer to that question. But
no, man, that was good. I mean, a lot of us, we don't think about the future. We don't think about tomorrow. We don't think about years down the road. I mean, a lot of us, especially in the hospitality industry, we all kind of live, day by day. And, it's like I said about blowing money, make it one night, blow it the now, make it the end tomorrow. You don't think, okay, what if you, God forbid, get in a car accident tomorrow and you break a leg, you can't walk.
What if you can't work, right?
Yeah, your job's done. You can't work. And say you collect, disability or something. That goes on, it doesn't go off you're not gonna make $500 a night off tips and disability or whatever. So like life as you know it is done and over. So if you don't plan for it, that can hit you really, really hard, which, just like we talked about COVID, a lot of people didn't plan for this, and it's hit people really, really hard.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, saving is like the number one way to really like make sure that you're protected. But then there are, like insurance is there for a reason. Like, it's I feel like sometimes explaining it in other terms is like, people, you have your car insurance, but it's like, you have that because in the event that something happens and, you know, nobody's hurt, but you got to fix the car, like having to actually pay what it would cost to fix that car, you don't have to deal with that because you have insurance. And it's kind of like that same idea that it's like, it's such a small amount of money to ensure that if something happens, your costs are mitigated and the people in your life are insulated from any sort of real repercussions because you've taken a small amount and paid it towards your future. And I think that's like, once we wrap our heads around that as we get older, it's like, I should have been doing this sooner, but I'm glad at least that I'm taking the steps now to do that type of stuff, because you never really know.
No, you don't. And talking about savings, I mean, they say you should have, several months of savings in, but would you keep it in a actual bank savings account, or would you put it in something else? Because I think putting your money in a bank savings account is kind of ridiculous, because you're not making money off your money.
So true.
Most important thing you can do right now in today's day and age is let your money work for you.
Yeah. And if you're not planning for your future through passive income and investments in your future, you're always going to be working paycheck to paycheck. You're always going to be working for that money. And if you create passive income and you create those investments that you can, borrow from if you want to invest into real estate, or you can put money into, a whole life insurance policy that you can actually receive dividends from. Those are the ways that your money is working for you, as opposed to you working for your money. And unless you're doing that stuff, it's gonna be a long road. So saving your money is key, but I wouldn't keep large sums of it in just a basic savings account. So to answer your question, no, I wouldn't leave it all there, but you do have to save to a certain amount of money before you can start making any of these investments that are going to actually give you a return. And so, like, there are plenty of investment books out there that can do a much better job than I can of these sort of like ways to attack. But the first thing is always like, you got to have enough money set aside for an emergency fund. So like, I always say, like, you got to have $1,000 set aside in a drawer so that anything that happens small, you can take care of it, and it's not going to affect all the plans that you have in the future. And then it's about living debt free. That's your next, that's the next option or the next like goal. And then, are you set up for retirement? So are you putting in the full amount that your company is going to match you for, the full amount that you can statutorily add to your 401k? Like, those are the things that I would do with my money. And if all of those things are happening, then start letting a little money accumulate in your savings account, and then make make a large investment into something. That's what I would be doing with my money, rather than letting it just sit there and being impressed that it's in your savings account. Because the rate of return right now in the savings account it's nothing. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, like, yeah, save it and put it in your savings account, but because cash is never like, you're gonna have to deal with inflation, but you do have to have a little bit of money put away for access should something happen and you need it right away. So that make sense? Like, I feel like I get a little circular there, but
yeah. Well, I remember back when I was bartending, I was making all the money. I put it at a shoebox filled with thousands of dollars.
We all did, right?
Obviously that money wasn't working for me. And then talking about money in a savings account, that money doesn't work for me. But I have different, stocks and different portfolio and different accounts where if I had to withdraw it, I could. I might get penalized in one or two, whatever, but at least my money's making money for me, which helped me rebuild faster than as if I was keeping it in the shoebox or in the savings account and it wasn't working for me.
True. Very true. And I think I'm always curious to ask my other friends, like, what was your thing that you did with your cash? Because I had a friend that I worked with that he would always keep blue hundreds, and he kept them aside, and he would never deposit his blue hundreds. Personally, I kept ones and fives and tens in underneath my mattress box, and then I deposited everything else. And that was like, I became a freak about keeping all my ones, fives, and tens. So like, no matter how I would get my money at the end of the night, well, you were in Vegas, so you could color up. But like us normal kids that don't have a bank at our access, like I would get, whatever my money was.
Ones.
Yeah. Well, I think you were probably going. I think you were probably going other places with those ones when we got you and I both. But I would always keep them aside. What did you do?
I kept the hundreds. I would go to the bank and get, the $5,000 wraps, and I had 5,000, another 5,000, another 5,000. I keep all the hundreds.
Yeah.
I blow the rest.
Yeah. Sounds about right. We just blow the rest.
Realistically, I'd blow the rest. I mean, if it wasn't 100, it was like nothing. So they say like $100 bills is like an adult $1 bill or an adult 20 or whatever.
Yeah, so true.
And I just had a thing, if I broke 100, it was gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can go buy a stick of gum, break $100 bill, and the rest of the $98 was gone. I'm like,
yep.
It's weird how that happened.
How'd that happen?
I stumbled into a Target and it's gone like that. You never know.
Oh yeah, I was the same way. If I went out with cash and I came back with it, something was wrong. You know what I mean? It was like somebody didn't get that extra money that they should have. That's why.
I always had a weird thing. I would come home with one wrinkled up dollar bill. Like the nights I go out blackouts up, I come home with one wrinkled up dollar bill. Like some of my mind's like, keep $1.
Keep one.
I'd always have $1.
Always rebuild. See, you always were thinking about the future, Sean. It seems like
I refuse to go to zero. I always had one wrinkled up dollar bill, and I never remember
I feel like that's a good name for something, like refuse to go to zero. Like,
right? Yeah.
Like that.
Hey, I think we're onto something. I like that.
We are. Man, you only had an attorney to help you trademark that.
Right? Let's do it.
Yep.
If you can make $2 million, would you stay in hospitality?
I think if anyone had $2 million in the bank, you wouldn't do what it is that you started doing. So it's like, if I had 2 million, I wouldn't be in hospitality. I would be investing, and I would be in making my money work for itself, because once you have that amount of money, you want to keep it. And I think it goes back to why we all started. We usually, like, when you start in that business, you don't have anything, so that you got to work. Like, you really have to grind it out. And so like, if you have that kind of money, that work ethic isn't really there, and you just want to keep that money. And I think that's the reason that we all started in this business. And so it's the grind that we all started working towards. And if I had that money, I wouldn't be in the hospitality industry. Maybe like a guest gig every once in a while, but that money, I'd be keeping it, I'd be investing it wisely and making it make money for me.
Well, what would you think would be a good like financial spot where you think it's safe for people to break out of hospitality? Like a lot of people like, I can't leave until I have $100,000 in the bank. I can't leave until I have $1 million. I can't leave until everyone has like that thing but then obviously we keep blowing it and we never get to that point. So just that point, that line in the sand just keeps moving away from you.
Sean, I think that if I had that answer, I think I would be selling it to lots of people and I'd be infinitely wealthy, because that's the answer to the question that we all ask ourselves, is like, when is enough? When can I leave this thing that I'm doing? And I think having that goal that you want, I don't think it should be a number. I think it should be a goal of, I've achieved this thing and now I can move forward. But I think it should also be where you want to be in your life. It's not necessarily an amount of money. It's like, when have I gotten to a point that I can move forward and grow as a person? And so for me, mine was like, can I start a family in this business? For me, I didn't want to do that. I could have, but it didn't make sense for me. And that was the thing. So it wasn't the money. It was like, where do I want to go and can I keep doing it in this business? So I think establishing something like that, it's going to be different for every person. It's going to vary. So when you can figure that out on your own, that's the goal. I don't think it's a money thing. I think, because if we all had the choice, we would keep working. If the money was good, I don't know. That'd be a tough one.
I think it's all about happiness. Like we talked about earlier, when it stops being fun. I mean, my last job in hospitality, I was a director. I was running multiple venues. I was making great money, and it wasn't fun. It stopped being fun. And then I was there for 4.5 years. And every year I would quit, and every year they would give me more money to stay because I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I made them millions of dollars. I was very, very
Yeah.
good kid. I was a hustler, you know, and
Yeah.
so I kept calling it selling my soul for the more money. So another year, another year. I'm like, what am I doing? A buddy of mine made a joke. He's like, dude, you really just waterboarded yourself for 4.5 years. He's like, and where's all that extra money they paid you? Where's that now? I'm like, I blew it because I was so miserable at my job.
Yep.
I didn't blow it trying to buy my happiness.
Yeah.
Just this vicious cycle that really got me nowhere. Just wasted, you know, more years off my life.
Yeah. Well, we're better for it now, though, right? I mean,
100%.
towards
And that's one thing I want to talk to people about, you know, the whole success after hospitality. It's not like, oh, I'm going to multi-millionaire, get rich quick or anything like that. That's success in your own mind. You know, your true happiness, your true motivation, your true, like, what makes you happy?
Yeah.
When you're happy, that's what makes you successful.
Yeah.
Guys that are multi-millionaires are fucking miserable.
Miserable. Yeah. I know the same. We probably know some of the same people. In fact, I'm sure we do.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to talk to our people about?
You know, I would just say I'm glad if you found yourself here, you're already, the hard part's over. You're already curious. You're already working towards making yourself more successful and happier. And I just would say, like, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone in your circle or anyone, like, obviously myself will put all my contact if you need anything. I'm always available, and so are you, Sean. And I think that, like, just start having the conversations and just be open to any direction your life can take you. Like, that's truly, like, I think you and I both have seen some unforeseen things happen in a great way, and you just got to be open to it. And if you're here, you clearly are. So it's like, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you watched any of this video, and I hope that they, you know, are enjoying your course, because I look forward to seeing it and being a part of it too. So I'm very, very happy that you're doing this, and I'm proud to know you as Bud.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I just want to help inspire others to lead a happy, successful, positive life.
Yeah. Well, then let's do it.
As I know you do. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Let's do it. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate your time, bud. I'll talk to you
very soon.
All right, later, buddy.
See you guys.